to get started, I am glad you guys are all here. I know most of you guys, but I'm Brianna. I'm the clinical social worker here. I don't know, is this anybody's first time at support group? Yours, glad you're here. Well, we like to introduce ourselves, and you can share whatever you would kind of like to share. Any non-skill victories, whatever you would like, and we'll go and introduce ourselves to get started. I'll start. I'm, again, Brianna. I've been here almost a year. I can't believe it, but I started out as an oncology social worker, and then I got my clinical license to practice therapy and psychological evaluations. So I've been here for a little less than a year, but I've thoroughly enjoyed learning.
Still feel like a new girl?
Some days not, but it's been an adjustment from a fast pace of a hospital where I didn't get to sit and then I'm sitting all day, so I've had to incorporate more physical activity as well, because I catch myself and I'm like, I haven't moved in 3 hours. I got to go move, so I'm working on that, but I'm glad you all are here. You can go ahead.
I'm Elizabeth. I am, I guess, in the next week will be 3 months. Yep, had my surgery in May 10th. A non-scale victory. I'm back to shopping at the Loft. So that's, there you go. It's been a long time since I've shopped there, but I'm back there. About to wreak havoc in there come fall. So yeah, that'll be my non-scale.
That's
Yeah.
a big victory.
Yeah,
That's amazing. Glad you're here.
I'm Miranda. I had the sleeve done March 9th, and non-scale victory was, I'm down like 10 pants sizes, so
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, almost like 60, almost 65 pounds. March.
That's amazing. That's wonderful. Glad you're here.
So I'm happy.
That's amazing. I'm Lindsay. I had RNY bypass April of 2022. So last week was 15 months post-op. And I've lost about 120, 115 some days, fluctuates. So many non-scale victories. But my birthday was just like 2 weeks ago, and we went to Charleston to celebrate, and I rode the bull. I was too afraid to ride the bull at the other time. And my husband was like, do it. I was like, I'll only do it if you do it. So we both rode the bull, and I had the longest time of the whole day. And it was
There
like
you
11
go.
o'clock at
Yeah,
night.
there you go.
So I was on there for almost a minute, and I beat all the guys in the bar and everything.
That's amazing.
I'm Sharon. I had the sleeve procedure June the 13th. I'm down about 20 pounds from that, but a total of almost 50 since I started this adventure.
You take credit for it all.
But anyway, and I had a heightened sense for smell for food. Yeah, everything smells so good. I don't care what it is.
Since surgery, huh?
But you were talking about you didn't feel full. That hit me about 6 weeks after my surgery. I didn't feel full until then. And then it's kind of like everything, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I felt full quicker, I guess, after about 6 weeks. I don't know if that was just the healing of everything or what. But,
Is that when you started incorporating food, like regular food?
yeah.
Like period,
Yeah.
not pureed, and not, so it gets bigger, it takes up more space.
Okay.
I'm Kathy. I'm a year and a half out with the sleeve. I have set goals since talking with Emily and Brianna, and they're posted in my house. I'm a retired teacher, so I have Post-it notes everywhere. And I actually cleaned windows yesterday and cleaned out the fridge. My grandmother would be so proud. I'm moving, making myself do stuff, and I'm being intentional. That's my new word, intentional. So,
Glad you're here, Miss Kathy.
thank you.
I'm Hazel. I had my, it's been almost 3.5 years I had the sleeve and I had a hernia repair at the same time. And yesterday I was helping a friend move, and I was amazed at how much I could do, and going up them steps. You know, before you would have to. I had to hold on to the thing to go up, but I was able to do that. My nephew kept saying, "And Hazel, slow down." Slow down. I said, okay. So, but I enjoyed that.
That's amazing.
I'm Ryan. I had the sleeve. It'll be 2 weeks tomorrow. Feeling great. So happy. I don't have any non-scale victories yet, but at the rate I'm going, I think I'll be buying some new shorts here in about a week or two. So.
Very good. You feel the difference, so that's a bit.
I do, yeah.
Good.
I'm Tina. I am 7 months, just past 7 months out from having a sleeve, and it's been a great success. I feel wonderful. But a non-scale victory that I just noticed, and there have been many of them, but one that I just paid attention to last week was how much room there is between me and the steering wheel when I'm driving. And I haven't moved the seat, so it's not like I've moved it back or anything. So that's one thing I told somebody just this morning that I noticed. And so that was like, wow, I even took a picture of it just for my own, diary or whatever of the journey. So that's been a great thing.
I haven't heard that one. That's a good one.
It doesn't even because the steering wheel used to brush against my stomach every time I would go around,
Yeah.
I mean, and I just sat there and I happened to look down and I went, wait, there's all this room, all this space. So that's been really good.
That's awesome.
I'm Don. I had the sleeve November the 8th, down 88 pounds. A little non-scale victory. I can walk a lot further than I used to. Tonight I parked over by the other building so that I'd walk over here and not park out front. So like going to the grocery store, try to park as far as way possible. If you go to Walmart, go to the way to the end. Leave the other folks have the hunt around for the parking spaces. So I think that's a great change for me. Yeah.
That's awesome.
My name's Russ. I had the sleeve in November of 21, so it's coming up on 2 years. About 130 down, maintained about 120 of that for the last year. Lots of non-scale victories.
Up to you.
Huh?
Oh, I was telling her she can come over to the circle. Or you can be a back row. It's okay. It's okay.
But I've recently readjusted my seat in my truck. And I bought that on my truck shortly before my surgery. And I'm a big guy, I bought a big truck. It's all the way back, all had to have electric seats, so they had to go back and down and all as far away from the steering wheel as I could get. And you preset it, and then the other day I actually reset it because I was up and closer to it, I needed to be closer to it. So, I mean, a 52 to a 38 pan, talk about pan sizes. There's a lot of non-scale victories getting down the floor with my grandkids. It's doing it. Some days better than others. But, you remember why you did it. I'm going to encourage everybody. Remember why you're going through this. It's not an easy task. Looking back at my first couple of weeks, and that was the longest. Basically, you live in phase 3. You get the
Yes.
Anyway, glad to be back here. Just a couple of months.
Glad you're back.
I'm Jenny. I'm one of the dietitians, and something that I thought about when we were going around, we've been talking a lot about social media, and so we might be asking some of you guys to take your picture. But I can't even remember what you looked like before. I remember I was out a couple weeks or a couple months, and then when I came back, and Don, when I saw you, I was like, oh my gosh, it's like you were an incredible shrinking man, So if you ever think about it, maybe it's on your phone, and if you feel okay about it, we obviously would give you, you know, we want your okay. Like, bring us a before picture, you know? Because then we'll take a picture of you with your surgeon or with one of the nurse practitioners, and then, but if we had a before picture, because really, Russ, I don't even remember what you looked like. Seriously.
I got pictures.
No, I'm serious, you know, you've looked great for months and months and months, you know, but, yeah, so if you think about it, and if you wanna do it, you know, that's a great thing to see the before and after.
And those are great things, and we were talking, me and Emily and our group as a whole, featuring those, but also featuring, you know, other things as well, trying to incorporate that more on our social media pages of, I have a patient that's still dealing with everyday binge eating disorder, but man, has she come a long way. Food addiction in itself is a huge thing, so not just us saying the scale, maybe you've only lost 40 pounds, but man, you found another addiction in walking or exercise or whatever, and like to share your story. We'd be happy to hear whatever it is, like I talked about non-skill victories, so.
I need a new truck.
The drive, you know, the steering wheel, that's just the feeling. We were introducing ourselves. You'd introduce yourself.
Okay, so my name is Deisha Ponder. I had surgery 2 years ago. It was 2 years, June 29th. I have an award coming to my doctor's appointment. But anyway, I've lost.
It's okay.
I've lost about 90. I actually had lost like 100 pounds and I gained like 10 pounds back. So now I'm at like 92 pounds.
Great.
And well, I guess my non-skill victory was actually like crossing my legs because I couldn't do that before.
And you coming back to the doctor's office. That's a huge one.
And then I missed like a couple months, just traveling, you know. But I'm here.
This is confession.
Yeah,
It is.
some type of guilt.
I am. I am. I feel guilty. I do.
We're glad you're here.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it was good. I mean, I've been, you know.
Glad you're here. A couple of y'all already had questions, so I wanted to first kind of change up the story, you know, the template of the group of like opening it up for the first half of the group of seeing, does anyone have any questions? Is there really something that's pulling you that brought you here tonight that you wanted to ask someone else about? Are you currently struggling with something that maybe one of us can help with? Of course, I have a discussion thing. We could go through the whole thing, but while we're all here as resources, I really like to just, the group model is bringing the challenges, not us. So kind of opening it up that way. Besides not just showing up.
It's a big step.
It is.
I tell people that all the time. It is a really big step you're making.
I think one of the things that like I'm trying to work myself through, because I'm at that 3-month mark where like I'm eating normal, right? Like, so I'm eating, it's that trying to find like what's the balance. So it's like I ate all wrong before, and so now it's like I don't want to swap that out with like being so hard on myself and not allowing myself to like I love Mexican food and I love cheese. And so, you know, I'm like, so I want to be able to like find joy in those things still, but in moderation. So I don't even go near it because I know I'm not going to be able to eat too much of it. It'll make me sick, which I don't want to get sick. Does that make sense? Like, I just really want to be able to, like, I want to have a good relationship with food. And it's like I didn't before, and I don't want to be so hard on myself now that I'm like the same. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing on both ends. So,
It's gonna, and y'all chime in, but I think it's gonna take some time. I tell every patient, you have to find what works for you. One, are you all or nothing person? I think some of
yes.
us are.
yes.
If I eat it, am I gonna overindulge? Some people can have a few bites and
Mhm.
turn it away, but some people can't. So figuring out, are you an all or nothing person? I think that's really kind of, because we talk about, the dietitians talk about when we start to justify or make excuses of adding stuff back in, that's where it gets gray again, right? So I've incorporated alcohol back in my diet, and now I'm justifying 1 drink a week and then 2 drinks a week, and then where am I now? It's gotten gray. So finding out, are you all or nothing?
Yeah.
What really truly works for you. Is that a trigger for you? Is Mexican food a trigger for you?
I mean,
So
I haven't
I,
been to San Jose in a while.
And there's maybe a reason why, right?
that was one of my things too. Like every time we went out to eat, always Mexican. I love the chips, salsa, like Mexican food, right? So I just avoided it until I could like be able to say no and learn my limits on like portion control.
Mhm.
And every time I went, we'd always get like grilled chicken fajitas, because probably one of the best things on the menu, no cheese and all the
Yeah.
extra stuff. But I learned to get either share it with like my husband when we went, or my mom or dad or whoever I went with, or just get a to-go box and portion out my food and just put all of it into the to-go box. As soon as I got home, I weighed it out and portioned it into containers. So I knew that's all I should eat. So then I wouldn't go get the next container
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's just, I'm
that's
very
good.
impulsive like that. Like I
Yeah.
can sit there and continue to eat.
Yeah.
Even if I'm miserable, it's like, oh no, I just one little more bite.
Mhm.
But that's where I had to learn how to like say no before I could go eat that. And then I'd count out like 5 chips and eat my 5 chips
Yeah.
and salsa.
I think both of those are really good.
That's really
You have to find out what kind of, I was gonna ask the same thing, are you a trigger, is it a trigger or is it a love? I think those two things are different. Because trigger starts the process that you feel out of control and stop. And I had to do the same thing. I avoid a lot of places just because you're still learning how to have that self-discipline.
Control yourself in the
Control your
urges,
portions.
yeah.
And we do Mexican, I do the fajitas significantly, but I'll have a few chips. And food's too good to deny yourself.
Yeah.
And it's part of the joys in life for some of us anyway, probably most of us. The learning, don't put yourself in those situations until you're ready to say no to, I like guacamole with my chips, but in the previous life, we'd probably be on the second or third basket by the time the food got there. Now, the kids are eating them, and I've had 2 or 3 or 5, and I'm done. Because I know, and I may have a tortilla with the fajita, but it's one. And I had to fight through the whole, I don't mean to dominate, I had to fight through you go through a phase where, well, it's not as bad as I used to be. And that's dangerous because that's justifying poor habits. And I work myself out of that too. So, your brain, you're fighting your brain more than your stomach. You reach a certain point where you're fighting your brain and your old habits and the old tape in your head. Finding out what kind of you are and what, everybody's on their own journey. What works for her is not necessarily, it may. But that's the beauty of a group like this, is you get various, so I'll shut up.
I think what everyone has said is really good, but I think the other thing you gotta look at is like just that relationship, right? So when you trust yourself, but also we all talk about how we don't want you to deprive yourself of everything good, right? Like we really want to work on like that middle ground where it isn't all or nothing, because dieting has always been like, well, these are the foods I can eat and these are the foods I can't eat.
Yep.
And for a little while you do have to kind of have that mentality for a little while until you get to that place where you trust yourself. But when you do trust yourself, you make a decision and you go out, okay, and then what do you do when you get there? So I think when you get to the point where you're not having your stomach tell you all the things and you feel like you have the control to have this portion and this, then you're in a good place. But if you go into something, I always tell people, if your favorite thing is cake and you want surgery to tell you no, don't do it. Right? So, but if you're in a place where you're like, okay, like I can have 2 bites and I'm okay, I'm satisfied. You're in a good place, right? So you just figure out that place. But that's time
Yeah.
and a lot of effort.
And control comes and goes, right?
Yes.
And during times of stress, you may have control down pat for 6 months, and then 1 year comes and something significant happens. You get laid off, or you are having marital challenges, and the control kind of disappears for a while, right? And kind of we've talked about resetting at some point. You know, that is so important, because I think we're really good at controlling for a while, and then sometimes it slips, and then we got to try and grasp it back in some type of way.
With being gracious with yourself,
Yeah.
not beating yourself up and throwing in the towel. And, you know, what difference does this make? But you know, yeah, I ate a little bit too much that night. You know, how can I make a better decision? You know, I'm gonna have a better day today. I tell people, have a bad meal. Don't let it go to the next meal or the next day. You know, if you're gonna have a bad meal. You
The
know.
surgery is just such a gift.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I really just feel like it's such a gift. I wanted it for so long and was finally able, you know, and I just want to honor it and honor, like,
Yeah.
my,
That's
yeah.
a great way to
Yeah.
think about it.
I need to learn how to reset, but also, I'm still super afraid, because like I said, I gained like 10 pounds back, so now I'm like super afraid that I'm gonna like gain more. And my aunt, she's like, don't be so hard on yourself, but it's like there, like, oh my God, it's 10 pounds, like, then what is it gonna be, like 15? And I'm just so still afraid of that. But I need to reset, because I've been eating wrong. And I don't know how to do that.
What do you think is causing you to eat wrong?
Well, it is stress. I do know that much. It's stress. Because my daughter's been having some medical issues, so that's like, it's stress. And even before surgery, I loved sweets, cookies. That's my thing. And then after surgery, then I couldn't eat it. It made me sick. Now it doesn't make me sick anymore. And so now I'm like wanting cookies. And I don't know how to not want them. I don't know.
I think what kind of Russ said, going back to why did you do it? What is your, why do you keep wanting to reset, and what's holding you back, you know? And being reminded of that every day, like Miss Kathy. I'm such a visual person of notes, and I gotta have it everywhere, and I write it in my journal, my little planner every day of, I've got to figure out what's going on with my mind today, right? And some people aren't writers. Some people do voice recordings, I can do that, and some people have to type it, you know? But going back to your why, oftentimes can help you get motivated and say, okay, starting back at 10 pounds is a whole lot better than, and I think almost every patient that we see at a year or more after surgery, or, you know, has that struggle with those few pounds, right?
Mm-hmm. Research indicates that too.
Yeah.
That you'll have a little fluctuation until your body gets back to where it is. But I think it's really important what Brandon's saying, because we talk as dietitians a lot about how we can sit here and tell you all the dietary things to do. But if you don't find the root cause of what is leading you to make those bad decisions, what we say goes in one ear and out the other one, right? Because we didn't equip you in tools to get through the thoughts to help you make better decisions, right? So that's the first thing. I think she's nailed it, is what's the root of it, and how do I work on that to help me change and make better decisions.
and I gained 10 pounds, and I know that feeling, and I went into sheer panic. And so I called Brianna and went in and talked to her, and I called Emily and went in and talked to her. I just needed it, and it really helped me. So I just weighed in this past week, and I had lost 7 of the 10. And Emily taught me something that I'd never understood. I always said I hated breakfast. I was never hungry for breakfast. Well, that's because Kathy was in the kitchen all hours of the night eating, just grazing. So by the time breakfast would come, I was still full from what I ate last night. So Emily said that she makes sure that she's intentionally hungry for breakfast. So after talking with Brandon and her the other day, I said, okay, the kitchen's closed. I took up knitting, I took up reading. I'm trying to keep my hands busy, and I'm eating breakfast now, and I'm hungry. And I was shocked when I felt that hungry feeling, because I hadn't felt that in a while. But it was real hunger. It wasn't stuffing food down. And I'm working on getting to the root of why I've eaten and why I've had the layers of fat on my whole life. That's hard to do. And that going through that process was when I was gaining the weight. And then I had to say, I gotta stop this. So it helps to go talk to somebody, and they're good. They know what they're doing.
So you made your first step here, and then you can call us, because you can't be afraid of us, right?
And I am.
Listen, I tell, has anybody ever gotten on you here?
No.
No. Okay. I tell every patient, right? I tell every patient in class, this is the safest place to be. This is the most non-judgmental zone. But the reason that we make those follow-up appointments is because nobody wants to come in when they're feeling a little bit down, right? Because you don't want to disappoint, right? That's the first thought is, I don't want to disappoint, them. I don't want them to get mad at me. But it's the opposite. It's, hey, we're here and this is part of your journey, and let's fix it. Let's get in front of it at 10 pounds rather than 50, right? Because sometimes we don't get that call until 50. Yeah. And then it's a desperation, right? And nobody wants to be there. But, you've captured it at 10. You walked through the door already, so you did the hardest part. So it's just Kathy called, and I was like, yeah, let's talk. All right? That's exactly why we're here. All of us are here for that reason. That's why we call it a program, right? It's just not just have surgery and figure out what to do with your life afterwards. It's, we're going to help you through the tough stuff, too. So, yeah, don't be afraid. And it's probably not as hard as you think. Either.
But I'm really hard on myself, and I just don't want, I hate the scale. And I just don't want to get on the scale, and you're like, I promise you.
Are we like the scale is accountability, right? We need accountability in this process.
And that person does not remember your weight from the past appointment until they type it in and look at the previous.
I know that. I get that. I totally get that. And my turn's even worse now, because people can look it up and be like, oh.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I don't see patients very much anymore, being in the role I'm in now, but anytime I ever saw a patient, I let the patient lead the conversation, right? Like, if somebody comes in and they gain 25 pounds, they don't really want to talk to you, they're not concerned about it, I'll may just ease into it a little bit, but I'm not going to come down and say, what in the world are you doing? I'm going to let you lead it. I'm going to let you lead it and decide where you want to be, because ultimately, if you don't want to change it and you're okay with it, then me pushing anything else on you doesn't make sense, right? So if you come in and you're like, I know I've gained some weight and I want to fix it, then we can work on a plan. I know it's hard to convince people that this is a safe zone, but it is a safe zone. And if it ever doesn't feel like a safe zone, then talk to me, please, because we got to do something, right? But we try so hard to make this a really safe zone. We do.
And there's almost always a route, which kind of goes to the topic, which is good. But, whether it's a past route, a current route, or a future route, there's something that everyone, is struggling with, and whether it's minimal, moderate, or severe, right? So past childhood trauma that may come up. current stressors, like being a caregiver for a parent, that's a root too. And so it's a constant daily, what is going against me and what do I have to overcome kind of mindset, you know, of what is my past kind of conditioned me to think and kind of make me feel this way, and why am I leaning towards food or alcohol or whatever it may be. But those roots they don't go away, right? And that's the hardest part about it, is overcoming those things.
Because I know for me, it's been almost 4 years. And anytime I feel like I need to come, I talk myself out of it. Because I say, well, it's been that long, you don't need to go back. They don't want to see you. I know it's not true. I know it's not
You
true.
tell yourself, you know what they're gonna say.
Yeah.
Why do I
All
need
of
to-
that kind of stuff. It's hard.
I get that. Sometimes it's an accountability reset thing, though. I think more so than anything. People think the further they get out, they're like, oh, I don't really need to see them. But you know why Weight Watchers is so successful?
Because people keep coming back.
Accountability, right? Like, that's what it is. And so sometimes I think we talked about this, right? You're coming up on your 2 year, and she's like, well, after 2 years, what do you do? And I was like, you come as much as you want. You want to come every 2 months? Come every 2 months. You want to come every 3 months? You want to come every 6 months? Like, we're going to see you at least once a year. We're going to make sure you're here or make a contact attempt to you, but by all means, that is exactly why we're here. And so in those periods where maybe you need a little bit of the extra accountability, you have priority, you have the flexibility to do it.
Absolutely. So going through, I guess what I mainly wanted to focus on tonight was talking about the root system and how it's a topic that Emily and Jenny said that they haven't recently talked about, but a lot of my patients when they get in my office is like, do we really have to go through childhood? What is it? Like, why do I have to relive my trauma or relive my, you know, what is it? You know, why do we have to bring these things up? But the majority of our development was in childhood, right? The basis of how our brains work unconsciously, consciously, all stems from childhood. That's why it's so important. That's the first thing that a psychiatrist asks you is about childhood and sleep. So with food, it almost always, there's something, whether it's minimal or significant, we can almost connect it. And if it's not in childhood, it's usually in early adulthood. But I would guess that 90% of my patients, there's something in childhood, whether they've pinpointed it or not, it's kind of impacted them. You know, whether it's a dad being deployed to war, or a parent being an alcoholic, or a sibling having a severe medical condition where they felt a little bit emotionally neglected. There's something that reverted them as maybe as a child to find comfort in food. Or, you know, I'm bored, my parents are never home. Let me get a snack. You know, there's something always, almost always, not all, you know, I say almost always, but there's almost, if we really dig, which is uncomfortable, no one wants to do, we just want to pretend it didn't happen, right? But almost always, there's something little that sticks with us. Also, I wrote a blog here recently and I talk about cravings and how cravings are often directly correlated to childhood as well. Y'all wouldn't believe how many cravings I hear of rice in South Carolina, but it is a real thing. You know, poverty is high. You know, it's high in South Carolina, and obesity is high in South Carolina. So rice is a staple, and there are many other staples, but just kind of digging through those things. Anything popping through your head while I'm talking about these things that you would like to share?
Well, I think me, because you know when you're a child, they tell you to eat everything off your plate.
Mm-hmm.
And so now it's like, eat everything, but I can't. I've been told that I should eat everything off of my plate. And that's like hard to not eat everything off of your plate when you've been told that for so long.
Or no dessert.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you can have
Dessert, you didn't eat it all.
I always tell a story in the Berry 101 class of this picture that I want to put in it, and it's me. I think I'm like 22 years old, and I have my arms around my two grandmas who I just adored, and I'm young and long blonde hair and then this big huge table in front of us, right, with a big birthday cake and all this food that they made, and that was love, baby. That's probably why I'm a dietitian, because we never went out to eat that much. We never but grandma's mom, my sister, older sister, everybody made lovely food,
Go visit.
And so for me, food is love, and it's deep in me. Like even when my family does, good things, I'm thinking, ooh, what can I bake them? What can I, what do they want what do you want for dinner, honey? And how those food and love is very connected, for me. Yeah. That can be good, that can be very dangerous.
I catch myself. I grew up in a very rural community, Blacknell, South Carolina. I don't know if y'all know where that is in Barnell, but we didn't have options. We ate at home always, and if we did, it was maybe once every 3 months we got to go to a restaurant, if that. I mean, I don't know, but when I moved to Columbia in college, I had a bit of an issue because there were so many options. My mom was like, okay, maybe don't need to eat out as much, but I just thought, I've been deprived all my life. Like, these people just live around all these foods. And, that's my genetic makeup. I mean, when I came here and there was a Chick-fil-A and a Hardee's and on the same street, I was like, what is this? But I have to be self-aware of that, right? I'm still living as an 18-year-old at USC of, this is my new life. This is what it looks like. But I have to be conscious of, okay, just because it's 1 mile from your house, you do not get to do it.
Yeah.
And I've really had to make strict boundaries with myself of, no, you have to cook 90% of your meals at home. And working with my husband, who's also from Barnwell, having all the options of, let's do this together, because we are really tempted, and it's just so funny to think about that is really my makeup, of how I think about food and where that comes from. Anybody else? Somebody share. Anyone else?
I can relate to your story as far as I had a roommate in college. My dad always told me that it was a blessing she was my roommate because he said I was going to be that trick to 5 kids. So we didn't know each other. She came from Minnesota, and I remember she got to school and she made Hot Pockets every day. And I was like, why does she keep making Hot Pockets every day? And she said that her mom did not allow them to use a microwave at home, and they were not allowed to eat out. She also participated in some underage drinking because there was a lot going on. But it wasn't ever because she was hungry, because we would literally eat a meal, and she would come back to the dorm and have a Hot Pocket. And I don't know what was going on. So one day I said, keep making Hot Pockets. And so she told me, she said, my mom never let us use a microwave and she never let us eat out, so this is just amazing. And so that's always so, it's I'm well out of college now, and it still sticks in my brain, raising my kids young now and just kind of thinking about habits you want to instill in them early. My mom, most of you guys have probably heard this, but my mom had surgery when I was 13 or 14, around that age. And my family grew up like Jenny was talking about, food was everything. Like we celebrated around food. We loved the food. Every family gathering we had was just food, right? We didn't move. We were like Thanksgiving, like eat and then okay, 3 hours later let's eat again, right? And so when my mom had surgery, that changed obviously, and then I probably went the other direction and got a little obsessive with it, trying to figure it all out, you know? And then later on in life, I see there was a big change in my family as far as how that went, but my dad has retired, and I've shared this with y'all, but over the last 2 years, and he's at home with my mom. My mom has lost like 150 pounds and kept it off for the better part of 20-some years, right? Just recently, she started to struggle a little bit more. She's done well overall still, but she started to struggle a little bit more. And my dad is at home, and my dad is constant. Like, he's got sweets around, and he's cooking all the time. And I just see all these flashbacks to, like, before my mom had surgery, my parents were, you know, at that point in their life where they're like, yeah, we're getting older, and we're just enjoying things. And so I'm seeing, like, the whole thing, right? I'm seeing this, and then we have this piece right here, and got a little college experience, and then I see this here, and I'm like, you know, so it's so interesting to me that we talked about this before. We've never talked about it in a group like this, and then when Brianna said that, I was like, yeah, like everything comes most of the time from childhood. Like that's just how that's what we know. We talk about nutrition and kids and how when we're young kids don't learn a lot about nutrition, and then all of a sudden, you know, our mentality with kids is, oh, they're kids, they'll grow out of it, right? But then we grow into adults, and what do we know, right? So I do agree that no matter what, I think it does stem from that childhood, early adult age where that's where our habits come from. That's why I think makes surgery so hard too, is though, you know, people go into surgery and it feels like the second chance, and it is, but then all of a sudden you're reminded that, oh, this is much harder than I actually anticipated, because I had surgery, the newness of surgery has now worn off, and now I gotta face all these hurdles, right? I got to face all these changes, and that's the hard part.
That didn't change.
It didn't change your brain, no. Wow.
I went through a spell after I got out of the military, quit smoking. The guy my wife was working for became a good friend, and they went out to eat a lot. So it started a pattern going out to eat. We couldn't afford it, they bought most of the time. So it was like, it's a good life. You know, and it just snowballed from there. You do because you can sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'm grown up. I deserve this. You know, I deserve to go out and eat. You know, but comes the point that you have to take control. But really, was, you know, eat everything on your plate, or you don't get dinner growing up, or you don't get dessert. You know, and it still feels weird not to eat everything. Go out and get a meal, and you don't eat it all. You know, especially if I start with a salad, I can't eat much more than.
Are you full?
You know, it's like the waiter's like, "What? You didn't like it? It's great." But you know, I don't go and spiel it. Just say, you know, good. But there's a lot to deal with, and then as you get to where your body starts to settle at whatever point you're going to settle at, you have to deal with some other things start creeping back in that you have to deal with. You're not necessarily prepared to deal with it. You work through those as best you can without sabotaging yourself too badly. I think I gained 10 since the bottom point. It's been that plus 10 for 6, 7, 8 months now, so I'm okay.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not beating myself up for that. Sure, I like to lose those 10 back, sure, but I'm not beating myself up. It's where my body's comfortable, you know, and everybody's different, and I don't say that disparaging what you're going through, because it's, we don't have the stressors right now. I mean, both our parents have passed for years with my mom a few years ago. So the kids are out of the house. Even with kids at home, a spouse that's not on board, or a spouse that, you know, I've developed, I kind of lost my hunger signals have changed. I don't feel hungry. feel it. It's a different feeling. I don't know how you can relate to that, but it's, in the morning, if I work from home 3 days a week, and if I go across the hall and start working, maybe 9:30, I gotta eat. You know, I don't have that physical, I have to remember on a schedule to eat. It's still a journey. It's still front of the brain. You know, I've probably had this, very similar breakfast for 2 years, year and a half now, and it's not changing anytime soon because that's a comfortable place. You eat the protein that starts your day, and you eat the protein at lunch, and protein in between, and those things don't change. So, the journey continues. I'm saying it's not, you don't reach a point where you lose your 150, whatever your 50, 100, whatever your goal is. It was really, for me, there was no real hard goal. I kind of had a number, but it was more about where your body was going to be comfortable. Doing what you want to do. I appreciate the insights of the families. Everybody's concerned.
You grow up with a food culture, and then you've developed a food culture with your current family, and you've got to realize what that is, you know? And it changes, it changes,
In
yeah.
the military, we see a lot of folks in the military so restrictive for so long when it is a release, when they come out, and then they, for the first time,
They can do what they want.
they can eat what they want and not have to be taped, right? And then overindulge, or, and it gets hard of, the food culture has changed.
So that happens.
Yeah.
Or sometimes people don't have the means in their family to really have enough food growing up, and then now they do, and so that's important for them to have a lot of food and provide that, and the whole idea of restriction is
Kind of a
difficult.
success indicator.
Yes,
You
yeah.
can go out and eat. Do it.
Yes, it's a challenge.
Anybody else can think of an example of their culture from maybe childhood or young adulthood that they're still struggling with to change?
The way we cook our foods. I mean, because growing up, everything was fried, or it had lard, or Crisco in it. I mean, it was just the way it was cooked. And now, having to cook healthy is a total lifestyle change. I mean, if you think back how your mom used to make this and make that, and then we're having to cook it totally different now.
Yeah.
Because back then, I mean, the food was great and yummy, but it was so bad for us.
Yeah.
And, looking back, thinking, why did I eat all that fried food back then? I don't even like fried food.
Yeah.
I quit eating fried food a while back, but just even changing the way we cook our foods and not putting all the salt and the grease and all that stuff in it has been a lifestyle change.
Yeah, and it is, it's good that you don't crave that, but many people still do crave, the fried foods or the fried chicken or whatever, that they kind of was a staple in their childhood, absolutely.
Growing up, my mom was a single mom, and so I heard no a lot in the grocery store, which makes complete and total sense. So I heard no a lot, like, no, you can't have this, no, you can't have this. So once I was kind of on my own, no, yes. Yes. You want that candy bar at the checkout? Yes. And get another one for later too. I mean, so like thinking about just what you were asking, like that's something, just having to really think differently, even in the grocery store. Like, even though I can, I don't, I'm gonna say no. Right, like you have to just teach yourself to say no.
Yeah, you overcompensated.
Yeah.
And now you have to
Mm-hmm.
back it up a little bit. Absolutely.
But that's good, you recognize that little girl that wants that.
Yeah.
You know, so you're going, you know, pushing your cart up, you know, there's those candy bars, how am I gonna handle that?
You don't need those Hot Pockets.
Yeah.
You don't need those pizza rolls.
It'll never get out of my head.
I remember one time my mom was sick and I went over to take care of her. And, she had, it was just her. And everything was stuffed with food. The freezer, you couldn't get another thing in, the refrigerator, every cabinet. She had bought one of those little standalone cabinets. It was packed. So I thought, being the good daughter while she was resting, I would organize and get rid of expired food. I mean, I cleaned out stuff and I was so proud of everything I'd done, and look at all this stuff. She had a fit when she got up, and I thought, what is your problem? This was bad food, it's expired. And it didn't dawn on me. She said when she was growing up, after her dad died, she and my grandmother moved in with somebody in the family, and that lady would keep the cabinets locked so that nobody could get extra food, because the times back then were so hard. And my mom had made her mind up that whenever she got grown and had her own, she would have her cabinets full. So I triggered something in her, and it was like, but I never knew that about my mom then. I was just, oh, okay. So, yeah.
It was very interesting.
It
Yeah,
was.
especially at the times of the Depression.
Yeah, because I went and told my brothers and sisters, I said, did you know that, Mom? Did you know that Aunt Gladys kept locks on the cabinet? And that's why Mom has all these canned goods and stuff in her house. Don't touch her stuff. Like, yeah, we've already heard what you did.
You lost a little in the will there.
I did. The redhead got me in trouble.
Yes.
Got me in trouble.
Yeah, my grandma had this huge deep freeze, I mean, longer than that buffet, that huge, filled with food. I mean, they lost a business in the Depression. So, and it was packed with food all the time. We found berries in there that had been picked in 1955. Oh, yeah. I mean, because, you know, just in case something
Just
happened.
in case.
Just in case.
Just in
And a lot of the
case.
food was stuff they had grown in their gardens and, you know, yeah.
Those chips freezers were the worst. Some of this on the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
I had to find it again.
Yeah.
Well, that's just something to think about, I think, as you move forward with the week, and kind of, I hope maybe it helped a few of you guys of kind of identifying, you know, we all know that most of us know what to choose, right? It's what's the barrier of us from choosing it? Is it just the stress? And I know we previously talked about emotional eating and coming to terms with what's our triggers, boredom, loneliness, you know. But recognizing that we can hold on to those feelings for not just hours, but days, weeks. So although we had a stressful day at work last week, it may be still bothering us now. Why am I still going to something? You know, it's what else can I do to alleviate the stress? You know, is it that constant worry about my mom being in a nursing home, or whatever it might be? But like we talked about, resetting and regrouping of, this is my why, this is why I do it, this is all of my goals I want to meet, and laying them out clearly and reminding yourself of that, not just daily, multiple times a day, because I know I have to do it multiple times a day. Like I've talked with Miss Kathy about pushing the mental reset button multiple times a day. What I did want to share with you is a few things. I printed the article on food as a pacifier. That's up there. I think it's a pretty good read. I had an aha moment when a patient said that she recognized that her mother used that as a child, and that was her, you know, her coping mechanism as a child. And to leave her alone, she would say, go grab something to eat, because there was multiple in the household, and she was highly stressed as a single mom. So I was like, what in the world? How have I never thought about it as that? You know, that's got to be difficult to recognize that of a parent, you know. But I think parents do it for a lot of things, not just as a pacifier, but love. especially during summer, boredom, you know, we're bored all the time, but it's a good read. And then also, I know I have some readers in the room that eat it up. I know some patients have heard about Connie Stapleton, but she's based in Georgia, and she has multiple different books that are very good of kind of digging in. She's a psychologist and talks about each thing of neglect, abuse. What is it and how do we kind of overcome it? She is a psychologist that specializes in health and weight loss journeys, and she's got multiple good things out there as a resource to y'all if that's something y'all want to grab. But yeah, I appreciate y'all participating tonight. If you ever need me or anything that I can help you with, please let me know.
Does she touch on like eating like really, really fast and like being encouraged to eat really, really fast in there?
I don't know about the speed, eating fast, but maybe she has it somewhere that I just haven't gotten to quite yet. But it's more of the why behind it, you know, where cravings come from.
I feel like that's
about
kind of,
feelings.
like, my mom was a single mom, and she worked nights. She was a nurse at the hospital, and so that, as a kid, like, that's constantly what I was told, like, you need to hurry up, like, here's your food, like, you gotta hurry up. So since I was, like, 4 years old, used to scarfing my food down.
Yes.
And even now, at 4 months post-op, I still recognize, like, I've got this little bit amount, but I still just want to like hurry up and get it in. That's been really hard. And my family don't understand why I bring a book to the table or a magazine or something. I'll like eat and then I'll like push it away. Like I have to physically and mentally like check out, just away, and get my mind. I just gotta move away, and they don't understand. And I've tried to explain it to them. I'm like, that's actually been really, really hard for me.
But good you recognize that it does come from, again, childhood, and it's a very hard, we think we can just wake up and the habits are gone, you know, but after many, many years of eating fast, it's so hard to break.
Go ahead.
Well,
share it.
You were also talking about, eating fast. Well, during my 20s, I worked in a lot of like plants environments, so you have like 20 minutes for a break, and so you have to eat fast, whatever you got, whether it's lunch or it's supper or whatever it is. So, I did that for many years, eating whatever, heating it up and then eating it really quickly, and it is hard to get out of that. But my friends will tell you that I did that really well because I was always the one who was the last person to order and the last person to finish eating in my groups when we would go out to eat, in my 30s, 40s, and beyond. And so for me, the taking time to eat is difficult because it tastes good now, that I've gotten past the blander foods. It's tasting good again, and so it's harder for me to like stop at when I'm, so that I don't feel pain or get nauseous or something. So I started with the 1 minute. So I have on my smartwatch and a timer, and so when I finish eating a bite, then I set a 1 minute timer, and when that goes off, I can take the next bite.
I did that because you suggested that last month, and it worked.
I've been sharing it with my classes, because I was like, that helps. And because you have to really think about it, and it's like keeping a food journal. It's obnoxious, right? Like that's the point, though, is that you keep reminding yourself to change a habit instead of just saying it's really, really hard. It's really, really hard, because it is really, really hard. But a lot of times you're like, what's my solution for really, really hard, right? Like, I think that's the thing that always drives me crazy sometimes. Like, I know it's hard, but how do I overcome it, right? Like, it's in front of me, and that's like an actionable thing that you can do that you have to train yourself.
And it really helps me, particularly because I've recently started going out to eat with a friend or two, you know, somewhere, and, you know, they, of course, they're very conscious of what I'm doing, and so they allow me to choose, you know, where we go, or they, you know, we talk about it ahead of time so that I can plan, and that's really, for me, has been like, number one is like planning ahead. You know, so but the 1 minute timer helps me because they know what I've told them what I'm doing, so that they don't think I'm just like stopping, I'm done eating or whatever, and I'm stopping, and they can keep the waiter from taking my food away if, you know, if I haven't finished with, you know, my ounces. But so it really helps me because I'm talking, and you know, when you're talking, you're mindlessly eating. At least that's the way I used to be, and so in order to not be that way, I found I really had to consciously make those stops. Yeah, intentionally make those stops in between, and so that's what I found that helped me at home when I'm by myself, but also, or at work when I'm sitting at my desk eating, which is unfortunately the way I do most of the time, but also when I go out with people to eat, because we're talking and we're having fun and you're laughing, and then of course you see those chips or salsa or whatever, you know, and or just the, you know, the chicken breast or whatever, and it really helps me to do that. But you know, so it's something you can try, but that's a hard thing when you're used to eating really quickly, you know. Yeah, I understand.
I'm going out with some teachers, I'm retired now, and they start back in the next week, so we're meeting tomorrow. And I've been stressing out all week about this luncheon because I want to go to that chicken or waffle place. And I'm like, dear Lord, what am I going to eat? What am I going to do? And I still don't know what I'm going to do. I'm
Look
just
up
so
their menu online.
You looked at
Oh.
I did,
Look
and
it
it's
up.
all fried stuff, and I'm a little nervous about it, so
Maybe a side salad.
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I was gonna
That's
And
what
then
I'm
say some
thinking.
play around
vegetable
with it if
salad.
you're
What
done
I'm
with it.
thinking.
Yeah.
Ask them if there's any way that they can, you know, just grill a chicken or something,
Yeah,
you know,
I
instead of
will.
frying,
Because
because,
I almost canceled, I almost said, I can't do this, and I said, no, this is
Yeah.
life,
yep.
you gotta learn how to do this.
Yeah.
Just don't set your timer, cause I've been
Yeah.
doing that, don't do that, that'll irritate them, but. it'll
I don't care.
But, you know, as a teacher, as teachers, we didn't get a lunch break, we had to
Yeah.
quickly eat, so we
Yeah.
were eating as we're walking them down the hall or whatever,
Uh-huh.
so, yeah.
I found the simple fact of putting my fork
Yes.
in between bites, I mean,
Yeah.
was a huge deal for me, because there's something about a full mouth feel. You don't even, if you don't want it, you're putting another bite in before you're done.
Sure.
And it's not the same as a minute timer, right? I'm not saying.
No, but it does help.
But it is intentional,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not, you're conscious of what you're eating. That helps me. They teach you that in your enduring diets and all that kind of stuff. Dipping your fork in dressing, dressing on the salad.
Putting a rubber band on the fork,
Yeah,
something like that.
all of those tricks. But
What's
the
the
one
rubber
that
band
works
on
for me
the
is
fork?
Just a little irritation,
Oh.
you know, to remind you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Never
To
had
remind them
Yeah.
to put it down, is that what?
Right.
To
funny.
Put it down?
No, just to remind you to slow down,
Oh,
you know,
you
it's
feel
just,
it, okay.
it's a different feel,
Oh.
you know.
I never heard that.
Never heard that.
Thank y'all for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it.